agent was teaching his wife to drive when the brakes suddenly failed on a steep downhill grade. "I can't stop," she shouted. "What should I do?" "Brace yourself," advised her husband, "and try to hit something cheap." Alex and I debated about what joke would be appropriate. We were going to blame it on the men, but okay. My name's Annette Booth, and I own the Allstate Agency up on 15th Street across from Skagit Valley Hospital. And I'd like to introduce Alex, who works in my agency with me.
Hello, I'm Alex Baker. I've been with Annette in her agency for the last year and a half. I am a licensed protection specialist and have been for the last 4 years, so I am here for you all.
Thanks, Alex. Many of you know that our agency is a full-service insurance agency. We specialize in auto insurance, homeowners, renters, landlord insurance, boat, motorcycle, excess liability. We also have a full line of Allstate commercial insurance. We also provide life insurance, disability, long-term care, and we do have some flyers. We also provide accident and cancer policies, both for groups and for individuals. So that's something, you've got some flyers out there on your table. Those of you who know me know that we take our jobs very seriously as insurance professionals and try to do the best we can for our clients in helping them understand their insurance, how it's either working for them or maybe not working. And that's when reviews and changes occur in people's policies. So, as sponsors today, we're going to test your knowledge of insurance. We don't want to be the dry, boring insurance agents we really are. So we're going to try to make it a little fun. But first, is there any other insurance professionals, agents in the room?
Raise your hand.
Raise them high. Julie's looking. Raise them high. So you guys have to keep your hands down for the next 5 minutes. Because you're going to know, or you should know, the answers to these questions. So, first question, and Alex is going to, we've got some treats you brought today. So raise your hand, don't jump over the tables or chairs. What is the percentage of uninsured motorists in Washington State that are driving around with no insurance? Anybody know? Okay. Sometimes it feels like 30%, but it's 16. It's roughly 16, and it's funny because when we talk to our clients, who have been hit by an uninsured motorist, we say, well, there's about 13, 16%, and they're always like, oh, I think it's 20 or 30. So, okay, Alex, you're up.
Alrighty. If you're driving your vehicle and a deer jumps across the road and you hit it, what covers this? What coverage? Is it a collision claim or a comprehensive claim? It's comprehensive. My husband did it.
Good job. Woo! That's right. Okay. If you get hit by one of the 16% of drivers out there that don't have insurance, does your auto policy cover your medical services and your vehicle property damage?
Yes.
If you have uninsured.
You're absolutely correct, Jerry. Here's the issue, and we don't see this a lot, but you have to have the uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist coverage on there. So,
would you like some iced tea?
Okay.
Alrighty, on your auto policy, what does PIP stand for? PIP.
Oh, right there.
Personal injury protection.
Good, excellent. And just for those of you who don't know, PIP it's mandatory in Washington State that we offer it to our clients or new clients at the point of purchase. And what it does is it covers wage loss and funeral expense. and it's a no-fault coverage. Okay, 2 more questions and then we'll let you go. What is one of the top 3 liability claims paid out by insurers in our country? Okay, let me give you a hint. How many of you guys have dogs? Okay, fair amount. So according to the Insurance Information Institute, dog bites accounted for more than 1/3 of all homeowner insurance liability claims.
Services of a national bank, but with the personal care and attention of a true community bank. I wanted to announce that we're sponsoring the Skagit Valley Tulip Festival annual photo contest taking place from April 1st through April 30th. I have flyers with me if anyone's interested. And I also wanted to announce that Columbia Bank will be hosting a joint chamber after hours event, and I would like to invite you all to attend. It will be on May 8th at our Burlington branch, located right next to Hayden. Hope you all can attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Now I'd like to welcome our new members. This is always a fun, so as I call your name, please come forward and introduce yourself to the group. Skagit Tradition Realty, Mystic Sea Charters Whale Watching, Fortune Mandarin Restaurant and Lounge, Cascade Bowen Work, Rabo Agro Finance, and Whispering Firs Bed and Breakfast. There are a few new members here that haven't had the opportunity to come forward, so I'd like to encourage them to do so at this time. Tanya. Where are you?
Tom.
Come on up.
Tom.
I'm representing Skagit Tradition Realty today. I'm the newest realtor on the team. And they've been around in this valley for 75 years, since 1936. So it's changed names, but it's been a family-owned business. Donnie Wolf is the designated broker. She's one of the kindest, sweetest gals you will ever meet, and is a very giving person, and we have a great team. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Tanya McPhail. I am at Connect Hearing in Stanwood. We used to be called Stanwood Camino Hearing Center. We've been there for about 17 years. I've personally been there for 7. I started out as just a receptionist and moved my way up to a fitter. I know a lot of people that think that they might have a hearing loss, but they don't know that it can actually affect how much income you make. Anybody that has an untreated hearing loss can lose up to about $30,000 in their lifetime by not treating their hearing loss. We do hearing tests, we fit hearing aids, we do L&I claims, we do insurance claims. We're also having an open house on April 11th from 3 to 5. I have handouts here, and I think there's going to be something in the newsletter, so stop by and see us.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm coming from both sides here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Max Elam. I am a professional graphic designer and illustrator. I also host our classes for kids and young adults throughout Skagit Valley. I love to draw and I love to inspire youngsters to learn how to be more comfortable in their abilities. So I'm very proud to be here today. I'm a new member of the Mount Vernon Chamber and very excited about this. I've been in Skagit Valley for about 7 years now and been training for strong affiliations to enhance my business. I'd like to encourage you all and invite you all to visit my website. It's www.newgraphics.com. That's NEWGRFX.com. If you have any needs for graphic design and illustration, I specialize in portrait art, caricature, dog portraits, animal portraits, you name it. I like to draw your face, and my prices are very competitive. And working with kids, that's my real core focus of my business. So if you have children that are interested in learning how to draw or paint, or maybe attend an after-school art program, please visit my website, and I have a contact page there. I'm very proud to be here today, and thank you for having me.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Seguin. I am an attorney in Mount Vernon. I've been in Skagit County since 1990. I ran into Bill Ronauer back there, who I had forgotten his name and he had forgotten mine, but we probably met in 1990. I served as a prosecuting attorney for about 17 or 18 years, and since 2006 I've been in private practice. I have an office down on 3rd Street in Mount Vernon. My practice involves basically various forms of litigation, civil litigation primarily, although I, of course, defend some people here and there that get in trouble. So I'm there by myself. I don't have a staff, so I kind of a one-man show, but handle a lot of interesting cases. And if you folks have any legal needs, I just encourage you to contact me. One thing that I do have is a really good phone number, because when I tell people about it, they say, how did you get that? Someday I'll tell you that story. But my phone number is 755-1000. So all of you can remember that, and someday when I retire, it will be for sale.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, we'd like to recognize members who have significant anniversaries. So, with that said, I'd like to congratulate and thank all the members, of course, that today we're recognizing for their 1-year anniversary, Cascadian Center at Camp Brotherhood. As I say your name, if you're here today, please come up to receive your certificate and we will take a photo at the end. 2-year anniversary, American Insure All, Cascade Companion Care, Koa Mexican Eatery, Embellish, Puget Sound Veterinary Group, River Play Studio. At the 5-year mark, we have Better Health International. 15 years, Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Sorry.
Okay, that was interesting. I'd like to ask Lisa Zem, last month's winner of the Upbeat Award, to come and announce the winner of this month's Upbeat Award.
So it's my privilege to announce this month's Upbeat Award member, because this is someone I feel is just the epitome of this award. She moved locations, relocated, had a bunch of changes in her life, and always has time for our ambassador committee, and always has a smile on her face. So this month's Upbeat Award winner is Nancy Thomas.
And Nancy's with Lickety Clips Grooming just down here in Riverside Drive.
Hold it. Okay.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you, everyone. Those are some great milestones, and we're happy to see that type of participation. We'll see if we can find your agenda here. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our CEO and President, Kristen Keltz, and she has a few announcements to go. Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, so We will run through these announcements so we can get our great speaker up. First, just a kind of a quick recap. I've gotten quite a few emails and phone calls from members about wanting to donate to those affected by the mudslide. So we will collect items. If you want to do cash donations, after we talk to the Arlington Chamber of Commerce and some of the folks down there, make your donations to the Red Cross. If you want to do cash donations, that's going to be the best way to do that. They're really in need of toiletries and some of those kinds of items, and we will take those to the middle school down in Arlington. They're kind of being the center point for collections on that. So we'll do that at the chamber office. I know Nancy at Liquid Clips is collecting dog food and dog treats for the pets that are being recovered. So, and I know a lot of our businesses are doing fundraisers and doing some great things. So it makes me very proud to come from communities that come together like this. So David Cope, our past chair, is going to drive all that stuff down for us because he lives down there. So thank you, David. And let me know if you want to do some donations. Okay, so it is my pleasure to introduce a couple people. One is Stephanie Hamilton, who is my partner in crime on most things chamber related. She's the executive director of the Anacortes Chamber, and we're going to do just a short presentation, not even a presentation, just an update on an opportunity for you as chamber members and as the community to have a trip of a lifetime. We're partnering with SITSLink. Peter Liu is here today, and he'll answer any questions for us. We'll have an orientation tonight at Bob's Burger and Brew at 5:30. The Cedar Woolley, Anacortes, and Mount Vernon Chamber are offering these trips. We're working together. We had the opportunity to go for 10 days last year. And if you haven't had an opportunity to check out another culture and another economy, I strongly encourage it. It really puts a lot of things in perspective of what we have here in the States. We had the opportunity to do some really great visits of some businesses over there and some great, obviously, sightseeing, the Great Wall of China, things like that. So we'll run the video if you just want to hit play. It's a little, I don't think we'll turn the sound on for it, so. Okay, we'll do the music isn't that loud. So it's a 10-day trip, $22.99 for chamber members, includes your airfare, your hotel, your meals, most all of the attractions. There's a couple additional add-ons when you get there that I would highly, highly recommend. We have the opportunity to take a rickshaw into a neighborhood, and we had lunch with a family who prepared the entire meal for us in their home. It was very, very cool. So it's just a great opportunity. And if you want to hear more, tonight at 5:30 at Bob's, I also have some flyers that will get passed out. And if anyone has any questions, Peter is happy to answer those. He'll probably stick around after the luncheon. And we'll kind of go from there. So we'll just let that play, and we will hand out some flyers. Thank you, Stephanie.
I come and work here.
I know.
Just saying.
I will come do the same thing for you.
I know you will.
At your chamber.
Oh, you will.
Oh, I will. Yes. And it's your Rotary, and so. Okay, so we have been doing our multi-chamber after hours every month. We're doing those with the Burlington Chamber, sometimes the Cedar Woolley Chamber, and Anacortes Chamber. We're really trying to partner with other chambers to expand your opportunity to network and connect with businesses from all over the county. So we will have another one on April 10th from 4 to 6 at the Quality Inn, and I talked to Eugene this morning. He's got some great things planned for us there, and I know they've gone through some upgrades at their property. So tomorrow is the Tulip Festival Gala, and I did not see Cindy come in. I think they were down to just a few tickets left, but 5 tickets left. So if you want to go to that, it's always a really great event, and it signals the fact that we are going to open our doors to about 400,000 people that will come to our community in the month of April. So be nice to them, smile, they come here, they spend their money, and they are a big economic impact to our community, not just with the hotels and the restaurants, but shopping and gas and all of those kinds of things. It really is a big impact and pays for some of those infrastructure projects that we have in our community. We also have a couple openings for volunteers. If you want to come down and check out the insanity of our office during the month of April, we will probably see about 15,000 people. We're right next to the Tulip Festival office, so it works really nice. We can kind of bounce back and forth, but if you're going to come do a 4-hour shift, it's really a ton of fun, and the people are great. So jump into summer. If you want to, David Cope is our chair for that event with Business Bank. He's going to give us just a really quick update on what we're doing.
Thank you. Okay, so I asked this last. I won't talk too loud, I promise. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Is this better? It's all right. Okay. All right. I asked this last month. So who likes a summer party? Woohoo! I want to hear some woohoos. Our annual Jump Into Summer is coming Thursday, June 12th from 5:30 to 7:30. So we want to invite everybody out. Sponsor and raffle prize donations opportunities are still available. Sponsorships end this Friday. So if you want to sponsor the event, contact Karen at the Chamber office before the end of the day on Friday, please. So we're really excited. Our current list of sponsors include, and I want to make sure that we get those out. Our presenting sponsor is Skagit Valley Senior Village. We've got Net Booth, Allstate Insurance, The Bridge, Washington Tractor, Business Bank, Chinook Enterprises, Hobby Lobby, Land Title Company, John Piazza Jr. Construction, Craft Stove, and Consumer Rental. So we've got a really fun event planned. We're really excited. So it's really shaping up to be a great networking event with some increased fun for your family. So we're going to have some carousel and bungee bouncy houses.
No bungee jumping.
No bungee jumping. Bungee bouncy houses. Okay. Character and face paintings. Excellent kettle corn. Toe Buddies is going to be on site with some samples. Barbecue dinner and a raffle extravaganza. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Tickets are $10. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, David.
Shannon's my cousin. Hi, Shannon. Good to see you. Sorry, just came out. Tickets are $10, which includes your dinner and are available through your excellent chamber ambassadors and your board of directors. So please put it on your calendar. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
We have two events that the Chamber does a year, and we really try to tie those into our mission and our core competencies for the Chamber. So this June one, we don't have a Chamber luncheon, we don't have an after hours. This is our one big networking event, and we really try to make it a family-friendly event. So just a couple quick announcements. The Skagit Business Alliance finished up their legislative conference calls. We did those for almost 3 months. It's felt like a long time. Every Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we started our week off with sometimes not so good news, but we had some really great conversations with our legislators. We hosted yesterday Candidate College. It's our second annual Candidate College. It's our goal to just make our democracy work. We want to see those races not running unopposed every single year. So we want to encourage business-friendly candidates to go and put their name in the hat, learn a little bit more about what it means for running for office. We have things, you know, the cemetery districts, all the way up to Congress. So there is 6 pages of service opportunities to your community. So we'll continue to do that. If you have any questions on that, I can send you the information if you were unable to attend. And then we've got the Washington Tourism Alliance is doing a tourism training. All of the chambers have partnered together on April 29th. So if you're in the tourism industry, they're bringing up some marketing specialists to just talk specifically tourism and also what the Washington Tourism Alliance is doing now that the state is no longer funding tourism in our state. So April 29th, mark your calendar for that. And I know that United General, we have a ribbon cutting and a sign unveiling. They are not going to be United General anymore. So we've got a big name change coming April 1st, and that will be at noon, and we'll send out information on the e-chat. Did I get all that? Very good? Okay. So with that, give me just a second, I gotta find my...
I can do many things.
So we are gonna go right into our speaker now. And it is a great honor for me to introduce this individual as the new CEO for the Association of Washington Business. He's been a mentor of mine. He's been in the chamber industry. So if you just let me indulge, I'm going to read his bio. So prior to joining AWB in 2009, Kris was president of the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce. I don't know how we let him leave Washington, but it happened. There he led initiatives resulting in state and federal funding for the Central Corridor Partnership, which will bring light rail transit from downtown to St. Paul. During his time in St. Paul, he also led a comprehensive rebranding effort for their chamber and played a key role during the Republican National Convention, which was held in the Twin Cities in the fall of 2008. Kris was selected as a fellow for the Ford Foundation's focus on regional sustainability development. Before leading those efforts in St. Paul, Kris served as the president and CEO of the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce in Eastern Washington. While there, he led a regional chamber merger, resulting in the formation of the new Tri-City Regional Chamber, representing the interest of more than 1,250 businesses. Let's see, during his tenure, the Chamber was recognized as one of the top 10 chambers in the country for membership growth, receiving 4 awards in communication excellence from the American Chamber of Commerce Executive. He is certified as a Chamber Executive by the Institute for Organizational Management, and IOM, which Stephanie and I both are as well, and the American Chamber of Commerce. From 1997 to 2002, Kris served as a manager of governmental public affairs at the Spokane Regional Chamber, which is now Greater Spokane Incorporated. He is a graduate of the University of Montana, Western, and the U.S. Chamber Institute, and he and his wife, Katie, and their 3 lovely children live in Olympia full-time. So please help me welcome Kris Johnson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm an old school teacher, so good afternoon. You're all awake after that very good lunch, right? You know, before I get started, I just want to take a second to think. This region has had a tough 18 months relative to tough challenges and issues, transportation and mudslide related. And so I think that's when you see the resilience of a community, is how do we respond to challenges that we face. I have to tell you, we have members as far away as Eastern Washington going online and making donations right now to the Red Cross to support the effort. And I think it's in these moments that we really stand proud to talk about how does our community come together and move forward. So I know you really wanted to hear from Gary Chandler today. And since Gary couldn't make the trip today,
Thank you. Kris just works for us.
Well, I'm trying to help here, so you guys want So Gary sends his regards. Let me take a moment. I've got about 8 things I want to deviate from my notes. And one is, you really, I hope you know, how fortunate you are to have great chamber leaders up here. And Kristen and Stephanie do an awesome job. They shouldn't be taken for granted, because oftentimes other communities come, like happened in my career, and ask you to go somewhere else. And so these are tough jobs. These aren't about ribbon cuttings and parties. There's a lot of behind-the-scene work, as you know. Anytime you have a community project to get things done, it takes a lot of people coming together. And these 2 ladies do an awesome job of doing that for your community. I got to give a shout out to Peter. I had a chance to go to China 10 years ago when Leo was just starting on these trips. And I have to tell you, I'll be honest, I wasn't overly excited to go at the time. There's so much stuff going on. And I went and I came back so wide eyes open to a different country, to the great, I remember calling home from the Great Wall, forgetting it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and saying, I'm on the Great Wall. We drove right by where the Olympics were held shortly before that, and by the Cube building there. It was an amazing experience. So if you've not gone, you can't fly there for $2,200, let alone go there for 10 days, have the trip, and take in all the events. So strongly look at that. Let me start by saying, let me give you a couple numbers. 110, 50, 50, and 25. Just remember those numbers, I'll come back to it. AWB is 110 years old. How many of you know who we are, so I don't have to give the long version of the story?
Oh, that's not many.
Good. So we serve as 2 things. One, we serve as the state's Chamber of Commerce. The other case, we serve as the state's Manufacturers Council. We have just a little over 8,100 private companies from the state of Washington who have chosen to invest in us to be the strong, effective voice for you in Olympia and in Washington, D.C. Our members come from all over the place. They represent 700,000 employees today in the state of Washington. They come from every type of industry, from every corner of the state. But simply put, what's the vision? Our vision is to serve as the state's Chamber of Commerce and the Manufacturers Association, but more importantly, to create a climate where you, your employees, and the community can succeed, grow, and prosper. So I'm going to jump into some weedy stuff here. Feel free to ask a question as we go along, but all of you
ask your own self this, hey, where do our customers come from? Well, here's where AWB's customers come from. And this won't surprise you, they come from every type of industry in the state of Washington. But most importantly, 71% of those 8,100 members employ less than 10 people. That's the fabric of our communities, right? How many of you come from a small business in here? Raise your hand. How many of you will have less than 10 employees? Raise your hand. That's the fabric of our communities. You create 4 out of every 5 jobs that are created in this country come from small business. So how have we done on membership? I think if you look at this chart, I think we've done okay. Especially okay over the last 3 to 4 years. But we started, 104 years ago as a group of 25 people who came together to say, we got to solve some real problems in this state. And we've gone from that period of time up to 8,100 members. And the person who really deserves the credit is Don Burnell. If you had a chance to know Don passionately led AWB for 28 years, being the voice for business. He and I are both from Montana, and what's most important, we both came from small businesses. I came from a dairy farm. We milk 500 cows twice a day. If you know anything about dairy farming, that is hard man's work. So we understand the trials and tribulations you go through every day about making payroll, finding good employees, and trying to operate in a very difficult regulatory environment. So we, like every chamber, have a whole bunch of different products and services. These are some of ours. They include things like a workers' comp retrospective rating program, but we also offer a healthcare plan. And one of the things unique about Washington State is we allow what's called association healthcare plans. We have 4,000 companies who insure 30,000 of their employees through our association healthcare plan in AWB. So healthcare plays a big role for us. I mentioned we're going through some transitions at AWB. I have 3 transition committees that are up and meeting. The first one deals with governance, looking at how are we effective for you, our members in Olympia. How do we do an effective job telling your story, activating our members to come down to Olympia and tell their story, and how do we do a better job of playing both offense and defense as a state chamber of commerce. The second one's around leadership governance. I don't think there's anything more important today than finding a top-level group of board members to come together to set the vision and the mission for the organization. And we do it in a difficult time. How many of you are boomers? Raise your hand. If you're a baby boomer generation, raise your hand. Look around. 10,000 of you a month turn 50. The last boomer turns 50 next month. It's a 14-year generation. 6,000 of you retire every month. How many of you think we're on the verge of a big workforce shortage? Raise your hand. I often joke, if you have about 15 to 20 years of work experience, you're going to make more money the next 10 years than you made the entire time before this. Because the competition for a skilled, trained, and educated workforce is going to be higher now than it ever has been. I'll come back to that. The last one is branding. Hey, how do we do a good job of being a modern, reflective organization? I joked, I think we still have some 486 computers in our office building. So, and they were made before the internet. So we're doing a better job of upgrading our infrastructure. So let me start with going into the 2014 legislative session. A reminder that the legislature had been in session, part-time legislature, remember, 19 of 23 months. Last year we had a regular 180-day session and 2 30-day special sessions to adopt a budget. So we go into it with our number one issue, and I think you might be familiar with the top issue, about transportation. And that we needed to have some critical reforms to get the business community there, but there are some reforms that allow us to get up and stand strong and talk about how we need a comprehensive transportation system. Whether it's bridge repair and maintenance, whether it's highways, whether it's ferries, that we need a comprehensive system to move our state forward. We hear more and more from people that they have their product being stuck in lines waiting to get to market, that their employees are taking longer to get to work. This is a competitive issue for our state. Second is reforming our workers' compensation system. If you do business in other states, you know that we have the highest and most expensive workers' compensation program in the country, and that we've got to be able to tackle it. The third piece, and we hear this now at the local, state, and federal level, is that we need a consistent and predictable regulatory environment to operate in. If you've tried to build onto your business, if you've tried to do a stormwater permit, if you've tried to make any types of changes, you know that it takes a number of permits and a long time to do that. Our folks are looking for certainty. So, what came out of the session? It was a 90-day short session. What came out of it? Anybody got an idea?
A supplemental budget.
A supplemental.
Not a lot. But what you should be concerned about is not so much of what came out of it, and recognize we're into what I call the silly season. It's election season, right? So the Senate sends some stuff over to the House that they want them to vote on, and the House sends some stuff over to the Senate that they want them to vote on. But more concerning is what you should be looking at, what didn't come out, but what got introduced. Because there are 3 key items that are going to impact every business in this room. I'm going to start with minimum wage first. How many of you had a job in high school? Raise your hand. How many of you still working in that job? Raise your hand. 1. She's honest at least. We can all in this room have a debate about who had the worst job in high school, can't we? Oh, I had to clean so-and-so's yard, or I had to do this and that department. We can have that debate. The problem is our children can't. They're not working. They can't find a job. They don't have the right skills. They don't have the right work sources. So, I've asked this question everywhere I've gone. Recognizing that our children already have the highest barrier to entry that they've ever had. We have a 38% unemployment rate among teens. There is no education or training range today. And part of the discussion down the road from you is about raising minimum wage. And in Seattle, it's raising it to $15 an hour for minimum wage. In the House of Representatives was a bill to raise it to $12. So we get that the cost of living, I think we all do, that it costs a heck of a lot more to live in Seattle than it does probably here. And it costs even less to live in a place like Yakima, right? So we think that the minimum wage should be reflective of that. 2, we have some communities that compete with other states, called Oregon and Idaho. If you're in Spokane, the minimum wage 2 miles down the road is $7.25 versus $9.32 here. And it's already 10% less cost of doing business there. This is an economic competitiveness issue as well. So, we already have the nation's highest minimum wage rate today. How many of you think in general it should just go up? If you think, hey, you know what, it's time for it to go up. It goes up every year, but some may think it's time for it to go up. Raise your hand if you think minimum wage should go up. Okay, be honest. How many think it should go up to $12? 2. How many say 15? How about 20? So at $15, recognize that our minimum wage goes up every year to what's called the CPI. How many years do you think it takes to get to $20 an hour? 7 years. In 7 years, at a CPI of $15 an hour, it's a $20 an hour wage or a $42,000 a year minimum wage entry-level job. I think if you're a business owner, you need to be concerned about this issue and tracking it closely. I'll get off this one. I could be here all day. Paid sick leave. So, how many states in the country do you think have a mandatory paid sick leave? 1. How many states in the country have a mandatory vacation policy? Say 0. Whoever said it. 0. 0. These are 2 issues that you will see back. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see a lot of legislative activity on all 3 of these issues. But if these are important to your business, you really need to tell your story. You need to let legislators know. We're concerned that minimum wage, it doesn't impact our large businesses. It impacts you, who just raised your hand earlier, that you're a small business in here. It impacts you who create 4 out of every 5 jobs in this state. That's who's most impacted by it. So I'll come back to the 2015 legislative session. I'm sure there'll be some questions about it here in a few minutes. So, what do we hear from folks like you when I go across the state? Here's one cartoon. This gentleman used to write for the Seattle Times. It's about health care. The #1 issue we hear today is about health care rates. And because the federal government keeps delaying when it goes in, when does it go in? When does it impact me? What type of plan can I buy? Where do I go? Et cetera, et cetera. There's more confusion out in the marketplace today about health care than not. And then when we talk about the unemployment rate among teens, we talk about the group of people who've just given up looking for work. This cartoon shows Hugs Tiny Phil waiting in the unemployment line for work. So, here's our message coming out of this session. Costs really do matter. You have to have a predictable and reliable environment. You have to know that the costs that are passed at a federal, state, or local level impact the way you do business. And our members, many of you in the room, are looking for certainty in the environment. When we talk to companies, and there's a lot of them who want to make a capital expenditure, they want to add a plant, they want to add a building, they need a 20-year commitment when they go to the bank to make that model work out. They need to know that the ground rules aren't going to change in the 20 years that they operate relative to the tax exposure. And then last but not least, and I'm going to talk more about this in a bit, is education in the workforce. So we also serve as the state's Manufacturers Council. If you look on the right, that is a picture from 1901 here in the state of Washington of what the manufacturing environment looks like. And it's probably what your parents and my parents told us what it looks like. Now, look at the left, and that's what a Pepsi-Cola bottling plant looks like today. The greatest difference, I think, and there are a number, in addition to automation, is there's a lot fewer people in the new picture than there were in the older picture. So we did a big study, and I'll hit two of the themes that come out of here. We hear today more people saying, I can't find the right skilled and trained workforce, but more importantly, when they show up to work, their soft skills stink, for lack of better words. They don't know how to work with fellow people. They don't know how to put down their, I'm looking for my iPhone, see, I put it down. They don't know how to put their iPhone down. I actually had a family-owned third-generation company say to me the other day, you know, we had a new hire here. And on day 2 of his job, he wanted to know when he gets his stock options. And he didn't realize he was talking to the owner of the company. He didn't work there very long, I don't think. But we're going to talk a lot about going forward as a state about workforce. And this is a big issue in this region and up and down the Puget Sound as we talk about a trained, skilled, and educated workforce to go to work. Job skill gaps. It is clear that we have a bunch of industries in this state that can't find the right folks with the right skills. And you see the highlights listed here as well. But the solution is about employers and the community colleges coming together. Because, believe it or not, we believe that community colleges play the primary role, I'll speak English today, the primary role in workforce development. They are the pipeline for us to find the next generation of workforce. And so we've got to work harder, smarter, and stronger with the colleges to make sure that they know what we need as employers so they can produce them. So manufacturing in Washington State, does it mean anything? Well, I'm going to work from the bottom up on this slide. We know that we produce a lot of things, small things like planes, computers, coffee, lots of big things. The most important thing, look what the average wage is for a manufacturing job in Washington. $82,000. What do you think that number is for Idaho? 42. Oregon, 62. If you're in manufacturing in Washington State, the average payroll is $82,000. Salary, not benefits. Salary. We produce $59+ billion of goods that were shipped out. But here's what's interesting. While manufacturing only counts for 9% of the workforce, we produce 12% of the output. Our manufacturers are very efficient in the way they do business. So here's some numbers. We have 2,500 of the 7,000 manufacturers in this state as members of ours. They employ just under 300,000. You saw what the average manufacturing wage job is. Look what the average non-manufacturing wage job is. If you can't see that in the back, it's $47,892 versus $82,000. Who wants the $82,000 number? So let's talk a little bit about a small industry in our state, right? Aerospace. Not small, it's huge. And you may ask, why is this slide up here? This is a slide that shows how many aerospace supporting companies are located in every county of the state. There are only 4. Yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when you say manufacturing positions, what are those categories so that we can be more clear about what kind of jobs those are exactly?
So in manufacturing, it's everything, right? Manufacturing is the big... The average wage in all manufacturing companies, when you take all of their payroll together, of all 7,000 manufacturers in the state, it comes out to $82,000. So it's everything from very specialized AutoCAD, welders, machinists, the whole slew. And certainly what skews this is aerospace. Aerospace has a higher number than non-aerospace does. But even in Washington, the non-aerospace pays higher. We have some very large companies that are in different things like Vigor, which builds boats, and others, some very heavy industrialized manufacturers. They too have a high wage base. In fact, welding is the number, when you talk about heavy manufacturing, welding is the #1 industry with the most vacancies today. The #1. So on this slide, only 4 counties in the state do not have an aerospace-related company in them. So when I'm in Spokane, I'm saying, you know, Kris, do you think aerospace is important to us there? I have 108 companies in Spokane that build parts for the aerospace pipeline. In Tri-Cities, they have 45. Skagit County has 25. Whatcom, 55. You can see the charts here. This is a game changer in our state. And more importantly, as we talk about composites, I think you're going to see a lot of attention spent on composites next session. We are getting calls, everyone's getting calls about companies that want to locate here because of carbon composite and other composite-related technology. I think we're just on the very front end of an exploding industry called composites here in our state. So here's the aerospace impact, more important. Aerospace last year paid $11.5 billion in payroll. $11.5 billion. Boeing paid $131 million in business and occupation taxes in 2012. So the 777, how many of you are familiar with this? It's a big deal, right? What is this really about? It's really about jobs. And I really sum this up is that the Boeing, at the end of the day, this is about giving us some economic certainty in some very uncertain economic times. We continue to hear the stock market. Anybody follow the stock market in the last 10 days? Our economy. I think when the state budget comes out, you're going to see that Washington State's economy has not grown as fast as they predicted it to grow. Eastern Washington, every county except one, is not having positive job growth. Only Spokane County is having positive job growth right now in Eastern Washington. We are still a state that's recovering, but what's led the way is manufacturing. This is about certainty of nearly 60,000 jobs and $3.2 billion in wages. It's about giving third-generation machinists a chance to go to work at Boeing. This is a game changer. And what really becomes a game changer is the carbon composite wing. And that's why we're seeing calls from all over the world about companies that want to locate in Washington because of carbon composites, because they know the workforce is already here, the education and training system is here, and they want to take advantage of that. So this slide's already out of date. We used to be the 3rd most trade-dependent state in the country. As of last week, we are the most trade-dependent state in the country. We broke and shattered all of our exporting records as a state ever. And yes, you think it's about airplanes, and they certainly play a key role in that. But last year was the biggest year for exporting things like apples, cherries, asparagus, and corn. And they're not only going to traditional markets, they're going to the new emerging markets, which is the last bullet on this screen. So we are an export-related state. And exports, we exported $17 billion last year. Remember, Boeing's payroll is only $11 billion. Only. $17 billion is what we exported last year. So when we talk to you, our members, about challenges in the environment, the #1 issue today is how do I find the right skilled, trained workforce? How many of you have workforce challenge today? Raise your hand. A lot of you. So what we hear today is it's about finding the frontline people. It's about finding the people who can come in and start working in my company. But when you ask them, hey, what's your concern 60 months out, 5 years out? Their #1 concern is, all you boomers, raise your hand, please again. How do we replace you? That's the #1 concern that most folks have, is how do we replace the leadership? The people who are mentoring our employees today, the people who are leading our companies today, how do we replace them down the road? So we have both a frontline challenge today and a leadership management challenge tomorrow. We ask folks, hey, what are your concerns? Does regulatory and policy effects impact your business? 72% said, hey, government regulations are harmful to our businesses. 75% are concerned about the implementation of the Affordable Health Care Act. The payroll taxes are a big deal, and I'll let you read on the line here. So as we think about manufacturing, these are a couple, four concerns. If you are a manufacturer, in addition to people cost, typically your #2 cost is power. Washington has long been having the most affordable, cost-effective baseload power, primarily because of our hydro system. The hydro system is under attack. This has been a competitive advantage for us for years. we need to continue to be focused on it. If we don't think regulatory issues impact businesses, we're foolish, because they absolutely do. Workforce is a key challenge for our state. And we're not in this alone. But put this into perspective. Boeing alone needs 10,000 engineers by 2020. How many does the state of Washington produce, do you think? 500. 500. So we hear from our folks in Eastern Washington say, you know, our folks might get an offer to move to the west side. It might be $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000 more, but the quality of life isn't appealing enough. Moving over and driving up and down I-5 isn't appealing enough, et cetera, et cetera. Today the offers are $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 more. And now they're having to make the jump. And so now the folks, if you're in Colfax or in Richland, are having a challenge finding the engineers. We have a big challenge here. And I think some of the education system is going to change. I'm going to guess that you're going to see a lot more of the Phoenixes find a way. Engineering degrees are expensive. They just are. But you're going to see some for-profit folks figure out how to produce engineers in a way that we need to fill the pipe stream. Boeing alone, 10,000 in the next 6 years to fill their retirement. So, take a look at this slide. There are some major brands on here. Apple, Hewlett-Packard, Walt Disney, Yankee. What do they all have in common? California is not an answer, though. That's a good answer. So this is kind of like your psychology test in college. Look closer. What do they all have in common?
Internet.
Yeah, you can do a business with them all on the internet, but look closer. They were all started in a garage. Every one of those companies. Amazon, right down the road, started in a garage. I think we have to ask ourselves the question of, who's tinkering in their garage? And how do we have an environment that facilitates more people tinkering in a garage? We're going to highlight a company that's right up the road here in about 4 weeks called Microgreen. Anybody ever heard of it? 2 people. Do you guys know what Microgreen does?
I know what they do now.
Okay, I'll help you. How many people drink a water bottle or a plastic bottle that has water or Pepsi or anything, Coke, whatever your poison of choice is? How many of you use those bottles and drink them? So Microgreen is an example of a commercial technology done right. UW, some really great people, way smarter than me, tinkering around about saying, we see all these plastic bottles going to the landfill. Can't we do something with them? So there's a professor who found a way to chew those up. Only wash them, take the sticker off, chew them up, compress them down, and make a way to make insulated cups out of them. So it sits there for 3 or 4 years, and finally some guys get a hold of it and said, we think there's an application for it. So every airline is trying to reduce the weight of the airplane. And so they produce an insulated cup. So if you're on Alaska Airlines today, when you go to have a cup of coffee, it's served to you in a cup that's made from right up the road called Microgreen. Now the interesting piece in this is they'll bring you a boiling cup of water and set it down, and when you touch the cup, it barely feels warm. But the cup's made out of plastic bottles, right? So it's recyclable. The cup itself is 100% recyclable. Next week, on April 1st, United Airlines has purchased 53 million cups from Ecogreen. Ecogreen is prepared to expand. I think our question is, how do we make sure that they do it here in the state of Washington, not in California, not in another state? And it's an exciting company that very few people know about that's in our very own backyard. Thanks for having me. Stephanie.
So Kris, you talked about how...
Stand up like the
Oh, I have to stand. So sorry. Standing. Microphone? I'm going to start singing now. How these businesses in this room, or businesses in my community, can really affect the legislature? Because it feels like a lot's going on down there really fast. And how can we make that happen?
I think that's a great question, because I didn't talk about this, which is next session.
Right.
So we know that the legislature has to deal with what's called the McCleary decision, which is to fully fund education. Legislature is going to need between $1 and $2 billion of your taxes to fund education. The state budget may need an additional $1 billion to fund the state budget. What's more important than ever is that if you don't come down and testify and talk about how do rules, minimum wage, workers' comp, and all affect your business, somebody else is going to come down and tell the other story. In fact, this session we spent more resources than ever getting real people like you to come down and tell your story. They don't want to hear from our staff. They don't want to hear from contract lobbyists. They want to hear from you. They want to hear from Main Street about people to work, about, hey, is this really going to impact your business? And so looking ahead, if you are a company that gets a tax credit or takes advantage of a tax incentive, there are 440 of them in the state. Every one of them is being evaluated next year. So if it doesn't mean much to your company, don't show up. If it means something to your company, you need to come down and talk about what it means to your company. One of the ones we're very proud of is what's called the M&E tax credit. If you purchase heavy machinery or equipment, put it to work in your work environment, and you hire additional people, you get a tax incentive. That tax incentive has created 60,000 plus jobs in the last 10 years in the state. It works because you put it to work every day in your company. Our challenge as a state business community is to get you, who are already overly swamped, who get a call at 5 o'clock at night that says, can you be here tomorrow at 6 in the morning testifying? And you all look at me and go like this lady's doing. Really? Yeah, we really do need you to come down. Because in the absence of you telling your story, no one else is there to do it for you. And so what we need, this is my message in every community I go, you need to look ahead to what next session. Identify your priorities. I mean, these two ladies already bring down the second largest group of people to Olympia. That's great. It's also concerning, because where else is the rest of the state at, right? There are some big issues next year that are up for final decision. Our legislators, your legislators, need to hear from you, not just in the interim, but in the legislative session.
More questions? Way in the back.
I do construction. We do a lot of stuff for state projects and stuff. But what about addressing prevailing wage rates?
Good question. It was one of the reforms that we talked about in the state transportation package. And for us, the transportation package is not just about a transportation package. It's a jobs package. It puts people back to work. If you think about the transportation package for a minute, prevailing wage is one of those cost driver issues that's in our transportation package. Are problems going away next year because we didn't fund it this year? We have the largest amount of mega projects we've ever had in our state. You can list them like I can. 520, 167, North-South Freeway. And they're all billion-dollar projects. Oh, and by the way, there was nothing in there for the bridge that crosses over into from Vancouver over into Portland. These issues aren't going to get cheaper, and they're not going to go away. And it's going to require, we thought we had the broadest coalition possible to get a transportation package through. But we knew it's an election year. And one thing that's true in this state is transportation packages don't typically come out in an election year. Next year is an education funding year. The following year is an election year. Are we really going to have to wait till 2017 to tackle transportation funding? We hope not. But prevailing wage is just one of the 11 reforms that were in the transportation funding package that many of us looked at.
Barry.
Yeah, have you heard anything about the drone market? There's people looking to create drone factories.
Well, the largest drone manufacturer in the country is already here.
Oh, where?
In a very, so it's down along the down along the Columbia River. It's owned by the Boeing Corporation. They purchased them about 4 or 5 years ago. The only way you know that company is there is there's one black sign on the side of one building as you drive by. You talk about, you had the question about salary. Their people make over, by and large, $100,000 a year building drones. So a skilled, educated, talented workforce can find the right jobs. They're already here. There's a lot of discussion, though, about where can they fly. I mean, I think everybody got excited after watching 60 Minutes and seeing the Amazon commercial, right? Oh, I can go online and order the Americans DVD and it can show up tomorrow morning in my yard, right? Or something like that. I thought it'd be nice to come take my neighbor's dog away. But at any rate, drones are here. There's a lot of conversation about it. A lot of conversation in all seriousness around farming communities. The ability to look at crops, to see if crops are growing, are they getting the right amount of water. A lot of folks have talked about using them for forest fires. As fires become more and more prevalent in urban areas, do we have a way to get some eyes up in the sky to see where the fires are at right now? So, great question. Any others?
Did you read the article in the Times this last Sunday on, showed a graph of the number of small businesses, and I think it specifically focused on the tech sector. They were talking about downtown Seattle, how since 2008 there's been definitely an increase in businesses, but in terms of the number of employees, those businesses hire, it hasn't increased because they're using subcontractors more often than in actually hiring somebody working in-house.
Didn't see the article, but what I can tell you about it, it's a conversation a lot of folks have about how can I reduce my costs, right? It comes to a cost issue. But folks don't realize, remember 4 years ago, there was a famous project called the Olive Eight, right? In downtown Seattle, it was a big condo project. It went under, right? Went to foreclosure, they auctioned the condos off. Today, you can't find a condo in downtown Seattle to buy. There are 15 construction cranes in downtown Seattle right now. Google, anybody ever heard of Google? 5 years ago, 400 employees in the state. They don't release their number, but when you do the math, it's anywhere between 2,500 and 3,000 employees in 4 years, what they've grown to. We are having a huge tech renaissance right now, and that's reflective in the condo market. It's reflective in new types of technologies like Uber. Remember, there's a big thing about Uber. It's about short-term, it's like purchasing a taxi that isn't a taxi to take you to an airport or something like that. We are seeing technology come into Seattle like we've never seen technology come into there. Part of that is because we have a critical mass of Microsoft, Expedia, Google, Amazon, those type of companies already here. The startups of it, though, is what's more impressive. So, I don't have the slide in here. 2 years ago, let me go back. 3 years ago, there was only $50 million spent in the state in venture capital. In 2012, there was $300 million spent in venture capital. I think tech is doing really, really good right now in the state.
We have time for one more if anybody has anything. If not, we want to thank Kris for taking time out of his busy schedule. Pitch for AWB. I'm a sole proprietor and I am a member, and I got to tell you, it's worth every nickel. And Kris is very serious that if you have the opportunity to go down and present your case, it goes a long ways to helping convince our legislators that small business is important. Let's do some door prizes, I think, guys, right?
We can do that. So again, thank you to Kris, thank you to Annette Booth with Allstate Agency for being our sponsor today. You forgot a couple things on your notes here. Oh wait. No, I guess you got them all. You got them. Good job. You got them all. I can't read that other one.
Kris, I don't think you're
Just give them a hard time. We go way back. So if we can get our ambassadors making their way up, we'll do some door prizes, get you guys out of here on time. I just want to reiterate, one of the things that our Government Affairs Committee is doing is we are really trying to put together a database of folks that are interested in testifying down in Olympia so that we can call on folks. We will be meeting with our legislators during this summer session. We'll have that our Government Affairs Committee meeting just talking about some issues so that they can hear from our members. So, okay. What's the... Mindy Otterstedt is the new membership and events person at the Economic Development Association. If you haven't had a chance to meet, there she is. I was like, I know I just saw her. So welcome, congratulations on the new position. And these are 2 tickets to Schmooze Fair for Rebecca Murray with Skagit Media and Marketing. Congratulations. Okay. So this is a fashion-forward t-shirt. Let's take it out and look. And this is from Skagit River Steel and Recycling, a local source for steel and recycling. Thank you very much, Mary Jo.
And it goes to Sabrina Lippman. Sabrina?
And it looks like we have yummies. Ooh. Okay. So Ector with Tulip Valley Winery, I think this is newly released, right? A Harvest Blend Cider. It's got the Skagit Valley Tulip Festival logo. He does have a gift and art show from April 1st to April 30th, so stop by. Who's that going to, Bruce?
Allison Moreland from
In dog years, I'm dead. That was awesome. So I'm assuming this is from Nancy. Oh, holy cow. This is a plethora of dog treats and goodies and collars and toys.
What's your name in?
Renee Silva. Renee.
Do you have a dog, Renee? Your dog is going to love you. Thank you, Nancy. Oh, sorry. There you go. One-hour photo session with Skagit Media Marketing. Rebecca, she does some great work, and that's going to go to
Rob Barton. What do you guys?
Rob, you need a good photo session. He's ready. Rebecca, you.
He's already had one.
Oh, he'll have to share it then with somebody in his office. Ooh, this is from Jerry Ellen with Speedy Automated Mailers, Coffee and Biscotti.
Tiffany Merciel.
Looks like we've got a mug from Bayside Specialties with Starbucks. And this is a really cool, pen and a sticky pad. This is a really cool holder for your desk.
Al Collins.
Al Washington. And this is from my friend Stephanie. And this is, you crossed it at 5, or no, it's 1.
No, I was going to just say spring, and I realized Anacortes used that.
Okay, the Anacortes Spring Wine Festival, and I got to tell you, we do our Skagit Wine and Beer Festival, and they have been a ton of help. So they do theirs on April 5th. 12th? April 12th. So this is one ticket.
$40 value.
$40
Carla Mack.
Carla. There we go. So thank you very much to all of our donors for that. Carla will get you your ticket for that. So thank you, Bruce, for stepping in at the last minute, taking over for Bob. You did a great job. Just a little bit of practice for next year.
Yeah, remind their Peter Luke for tonight.
Yep. So don't forget about our orientation for the China trip. Peter will be around to answer any questions. There's flyers. And join us at Bob's tonight at 5:30. Again, thank you to all of our board members that are here, our ambassadors, and all of our fantastic legacy members that are on the center of your tables. And again, thank you to Kris Johnson for making the trek up from Olympia. Got some really great information. So have a great afternoon.
Yeah. You should have drove up on a Bugatti. Nice road trip.
It's just a display.
He needs a Tesla. Does he have a Tesla yet? You need one of those cars. Good.
Peter, thank you for being here. It's great. I hope there's a good turnout tonight. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go. I was really kind of looking forward to it. My schedule's not going to allow it. Maybe next time. But maybe next time. Well, and we'll do it next time.
Great. Thank you. I have a question for you.